season. But the pre-season racial accusations have already started against Caitlin Clark fans. You can't make this shit up. Well, somebody can, but it's not Caitlin Clark fans. I got to tell you, right off the bat, I don't buy this for a second. Not a millisecond. It does not make sense. Now, we've got a South Carolina Gamecock by the name of Raven Johnson. She's a guard, and if you don't know who that is, I forgive you. Understandable.
Raven Johnson finally spoke the words that stopped the basketball world in its tracks. She looked directly into the camera and revealed the soul-crushing abuse she endured after that viral moment with Caitlin Clark. Being called a monkey and facing a barrage of racial slurs wasn't just internet noise. It was a coordinated attack that nearly forced her to walk away from the game forever. The silence has been broken, and the details emerging from the South Carolina locker room are far darker than anyone ever imagined. This isn't just about a game anymore. It is about a career that almost ended before it truly began because of a single dismissive gesture on the court.
And I think she's coming out in the draft. Number one, if this situation, and there's video, makes you want to quit organized sports and what's going to be a professional career, maybe this ain't the right choice of jobs for you. I'm keeping it real here, folks. I mean, seriously. Over on the I Am Athlete podcast, in 2023, Raven Johnson went viral for being waved off by Caitlin Clark at the three-point line. We'll get to why she was waved.
The incident started during the 2023 Final Four, a highs-takes battle between Iowa and South Carolina. Caitlin Clark, the golden girl of college hoops, did something that would be analyzed for years. She stood feet away from Raven Johnson at the three-point line and simply waved her off. It was a gesture of pure disrespect, signaling to the entire world that she didn't even consider Johnson a threat worth defending. That shoe motion didn't just stay on the court. It ignited a firestorm of controversy that would eventually lead to some of the most disgusting fan behavior we have ever seen in the history of women.
Now, I'm trying to figure out, why would you get called a monkey because Caitlin Clark waved you off? You didn't wave her off. I'm trying to figure out what kind of backlash you got. Why would you get any backlash? I would love to go back in time and take a look at social media when Caitlin Clark waved you off and to see how many South Carolina fans got their panties in a bunch. And guys, in case you're wondering, how did Raven Johnson do in that game? How did she do in that game? Number one, South Carolina won.
Raven Johnson recently sat down on the I Am Athlete podcast to lay it all out, and the revelations were heartbreaking. She described the aftermath of that game as a living nightmare, where the internet became her biggest enemy. For months, she felt the weight of the world crushing her spirit as people flooded her mentions with hateful language. Imagine being a young athlete at the top of your game only to be reduced to a racial slur because of a tactical play. She admitted that the bullying got so bad she wanted to quit basketball entirely and hide in a bubble of isolation where no one could ever hurt her again.
They still lost. The Hawkeyes still lost. Raven Johnson scored 3 points on 1 of 11 shooting and 0 of 4 from three-point range. That's why you got waved off. You couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. But here you are playing the victim 3 years later. You're bringing this up. And you're bringing this up because you know you're going to get attention for it. You know, heading into the WNBA, if you can actually make it there, in case you...
But there's a massive divide in how this story is being received by the public. While many offer Raven their full support, others are looking at the situation with extreme skepticism. Critics are pointing out that the timing of these comments feels a bit too convenient, especially with the WNBA draft looming. They argue that Clark's gesture was strictly about basketball strategy and had nothing to do with race. In that specific game, Raven was struggling significantly, shooting a dismal 1 for 1 from the field. From a purely competitive standpoint, waving off a player who cannot hit a shot is a common tactic.
No, you're going to get attention for it. You know, heading into the WNBA, if you can actually make it there, in case you don't retire by the time you get there, you know there is a faction of WNBA fans that will immediately wrap their low IQ arms right around you. And you will be celebrated and you will be the victim. I mean, it's not like the I Am Athlete is just a huge fan of, I'm going to keep it real, white folks. Oh, I said it out loud.
However, the fallout went way beyond the box score. Raven claims that the monkey comments and the racial vitriol came directly from the fallout of that viral wave off. She believes the gesture gave permission to a certain faction of fans to unleash their worst impulses. The psychological toll was so heavy that she had to lean on her faith and her teammates just to get out of bed. She described a period of darkness where she couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. This wasn't just about losing a game. It was about losing her sense of self-worth in the face of thousands of strangers who seemed to hate her.
This sounds like made-up dog shit. The way she played, I would have waved her off myself. They got beat and she took heat online from South Carolina fans. Oh, it wasn't Caitlin Clark fans. It was South Carolina fans that got on you. Iowa fans wouldn't give a shit about her from that game. Get over it already. It's my boy CDS. I'm so exhausted by this bullshit. Y'all need to go away. Made up horse shit. Nobody's believing it. Fam, this is victim farming shit.
The narrative gets even more complicated when you look at the source of the hate. Some analysts are suggesting that the backlash Raven faced didn't even come from Caitlin Clark fans. Instead, they argue that it was actually South Carolina fans who were frustrated with her performance in that losing effort. They claim that the internet is a toxic place for everyone, and that blaming a specific fan base for the actions of anonymous trolls is a dangerous game. This perspective suggests that Raven might be victim farming to gain sympathy and build her personal brand before she makes a jump.
Because she got waved off because she can't shoot. Victim complex final boss. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm supposed to believe she got called racial slurs because CC waved her off because she can't shoot? It don't make sense. It don't make sense. I mean, come on. I mean, what the fuck? They left her open because she was too chicken shit to even shoot it. How about this one? You need thick skin to play as a pro.
Regardless of where the hate originated, the impact on Raven was undeniably real. She spoke about the fuel that the situation eventually provided for her comeback. After wanting to quit, she used that pain to drive her through an undefeated season where South Carolina eventually got their revenge on Iowa. She sees her journey as a testament to God's plan, turning a moment of public humiliation into a story of ultimate triumph. But even with a national championship ring on her finger, the scars from that racist fan attack clearly haven't fully healed. The fact that she is still talking...
Did this come out another AR clickbaiter to get noticed off of CC's popularity? That's what this looks like. That's what this looks like. Let me play the victim so I can try to blow my brand up to a certain subsection now of the WNBA fandom. Crime victim because she was too scared to shoot with all that space. Living this way has got to be miserable. Still playing the victim, I see.
Caitlin Clark has remained relatively quiet on this specific fallout, focusing on her own record-breaking career. Yet, her name is constantly dragged into these conversations about race and privilege in the sport. The shooing gesture has become a symbol of a much larger cultural war happening within women's basketball. To some, it was just a legendary competitive flex by the greatest scorer in history. To others, it was an act of arrogance that paved the way for a racist mob to attack a young black woman. The divide between these two interpretations is where the real tension lies as we head into the next era of the game. Looking at the statistics from that infamous game, it is easy to see why the defensive strategy was used. Raven Johnson was 0 for 4 from three-point range, and Caitlin Clark was essentially daring her to shoot. In high-level sports, if you can't make the defense pay for leaving you open, you are going to get exploited. Critics of Raven's recent comments say she is conflating a lack of skill on that particular night with a racial attack. They argue that if she had simply knocked down a couple of shots, the gesture would have never happened and the subsequent bullying would have never had a platform to stand on. But Raven supporters say that logic is a form of victim blaming. They argue that no matter how poorly a player performs, they should never be subjected to racial slurs or dehumanizing language. They believe that Clark's gesture, while perhaps intended as a basketball move, carried a level of othering that was picked up and amplified by a toxic fan base. The conversation has now shifted from the court to the social media landscape, where every move is scrutinized for hidden meanings. It raises a question. Can a white player show extreme confidence against a black player without it being labeled as something more sinister? The drama takes another twist when you consider the upcoming WNBA draft. Several mock drafts have actually placed Raven Johnson on the same team as Caitlin Clark with the Indiana Fever. Can you imagine the tension in that locker room? If Raven truly believes that Clark's actions led to her being called a monkey, how could they ever coexist as teammates? Some people believe Raven is speaking out now to proactively prevent that pairing from happening. She might be trying to signal to the league that she wants no part of a franchise that centers around the woman she associates with her lowest emotional point. The reality of professional sports is that you need incredibly thick skin to survive the spotlight. Every major star from LeBron James to Angel Reese has dealt with horrific online abuse. The critics are asking if Raven has the mental toughness to handle the WNBA if a single gesture from an opponent made her want to retire at age 20. They point out that the professional ranks are even more cutthroat, and the fans are even more vocal. If she is already playing a victim card now, how will she respond when the pressure actually intensifies and the stakes are millions of dollars? This controversy is also shining a light on the broader issue of how black women are treated in the media compared to their white counterparts. Ravens fans point out that when Caitlin Clark shows emotion, she is called competitor. But when Raven expresses her pain, she is told to get over it. This double standard is at the heart of the frustration within the South Carolina program. They feel like they have to be perfect just to be respected, while other players can be dismissive and arrogant without facing any real social consequences for the incitement their actions cause. The phrase inciting a racist attack is a heavy accusation to levy against Caitlin Clark. Clark didn't tell anyone to go on social media and use slurs. She played a game of basketball and used psychological warfare to win. But in the age of social media, the line between competitive fire and incitement has become incredibly blurry. If a star's actions lead to a predictable wave of hate from their followers, do they bear some responsibility for that outcome? That is the question that Raven Johnson is forcing the basketball world to answer, whether they are ready for conversation or not. The podcast interview has effectively reignited a fire that many thought had died out after the championship game. By bringing up the monkey comments, now Raven has ensured that her transition into the pros will be defined by this rivalry. It is a bold move that could either solidify her as a hero for speaking her truth or alienate her from fans who are tired of the constant racial discourse in sports. The black and white sports community has already made their stance clear, calling her claims made-up dog, __, and accusing her of trying to blow up her brand through controversy. Interestingly, the South Carolina locker room seems to be a fortress of support for Raven. Coach Dawn Staley has never been one to shy away from defending her players against what she perceives as unfair treatment. This us against the world mentality has served them well on the court, leading to an incredible